We are live. JT here. Welcome to The Huddle. The Huddle is where I sit down with successful people from the world of sport and coaching. It's to learn more about their journey to greatness. Why do I have these conversations? Because success always leaves clues. I just want to take a moment, whether you are watching us live as we stream into our Facebook community, whether you are watching the replay on YouTube, whether you are listening to the recording on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here with me and my special guest today. And I guarantee you that if you open up that mind and you just allow things to be, you will pick up a nugget of wisdom that will help you not only succeed in your sport, but in the game of life, most importantly. I've been really looking forward to my conversation today. Before we hopped on, we were just kind of both, I don't know, there's just this vibe about it. And you could both just tell there's this enthusiasm, there's this passion, there's this energy to really get after it. My guest in the huddle today is someone who I've gotten to know over the last little bit. He is a growth mindset coach. He is a speaker. He is a former pro athlete. My guest in the huddle today is my good friend, Derick Grant. How are you today, Derick?
I'm doing well, JT. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, brother, before we get started, I'm big on gratitude. So I just really want to take a moment for you to really acknowledge you and thank you for being here with me today. I'm a firm believer that our most precious commodity is time. So thank you for just holding some space with me today.
The feeling is definitely mutual. I remember growing up, I moved a lot growing up, and I was always the new kid in school, and nobody ever wanted to talk to me. And now, like being an adult, I'm humbled to be on people's podcasts or be interviewed, because I remember being that 7, 8-year-old kid that nobody wanted to talk to. And it's like now, like, wow, they want to hear what I have to say. So I say that and thanks and gratitude that you would have me on today.
Yeah, definitely, brother. It's one thing I know we'll get into is life's all divine timing, right? We connected over our passion for growth, right? Servant leadership, just a curiosity for how to be better at the game of life. So again, brother, I'm really enthused to see, where the conversation goes and to learn more about your journey.
No, for sure. Same here.
Okay. So one of the things I like to do in the huddle, Derick, is I like to remind people that life is a game and games are supposed to be fun. So I'm curious, what is an interesting fact, some may say a quirk, that you have that maybe a lot of people don't know that you would feel comfortable sharing with our community?
Oh, goodness. My kids, my family know this, they see this, but very few do. I have full conversations with myself in third person in the mirror. And my kids now, they're 9 and they're 6. They know when daddy's talking to himself, like just let him be. But I do this purposely, and I started doing this probably like 4 or 5 months ago, so I could create separation between that what I actually am and that what I thought I was or think I am. And I know if I was walking down the road or down the street now doing that, people would think I'm nuts, but yeah, that's the only thing I can think of at the top of my head.
Brother, I can appreciate how you feel as well. I do the same thing. I talk to myself. I'll even be out on a run and I'll do it. And I used to be like, I wonder what people are thinking, where now I'm just like, you know what? It makes me feel good. Right. Sure. And as you know, yeah, it's just always important how we talk to ourselves. Right. And I'm sure we'll get into that. Okay. So I'm curious, brother, your passion was basketball growing up. And it was interesting as I was prepping for our conversation today, I actually saw how your passion for basketball started and how life came full circle for you. But anyways, we'll get into that. You were first a very great athlete, right? You played basketball at a high level. You played the NCAA level, and then you played 9 years professionally. And then you transitioned into this coaching, into speaking, working with high quality athletes, right? That are also performing at the highest level, right? NBA, WNBA, NFL. I'm curious, what has been the most valuable lesson that you've taken from sport that you find yourself still embodying today and applying to your life?
Yeah, probably, with sport, I always say it reflects life, right? But with sport, if I work on something enough, within months, I can have it like, oh, I see a difference. And life sometimes doesn't operate that way. But what I've learned is everything starts with my belief in my ability to do something. And, I think of like growing up, my parents didn't play sports. Like my brother ran track and he played soccer. I was the only one who's loved basketball. And I say that because I didn't have someone teaching me like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do this. I just kind of figured it out, went and played in the driveway, would go play at the park. But I also didn't have people telling me that I couldn't do something. So I always had this belief that like, I'm going to play college. I'm going to end up playing college and I'm going to play pro one day. I remember being a sophomore, being 16 years old in high school, still wondering what's the process? How do I play college basketball? Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
But my point of it is like, I've realized in sport and in life, you're only going to be whatever you think you are, period. Like whatever you think you are or whatever you think you're capable of, that's what you'll end up doing. And I learned that early on through sports. It's like, if I really think I can be a 20-point game scorer and I'm willing to work, I can be a 20-point game scorer, and the same goes for life.
I love it because it's so simple. And, one thing I found is we often talk about belief, right? I think everyone believes intellectually. And I know we'll probably get into it, but there's a difference between believing something intellectually and really deep in your spirit, right? Like truly embodying that. And as you were sharing, I thought of that Henry Ford quote, whether you think you can or you think you can, you're right. So I'm curious, was there a particular moment where you really started to understand and embody that lesson, that it starts with me, I have to believe it first for it to become a reality?
Yeah, sure. I'm 38 years old, and it wasn't that long ago. I was about 36 and a half when it clicked. Like everything I've done up until this point in life has been because I thought that I was at least capable of doing it. And it goes for accomplishments and shortcomings, right? I didn't do things, I didn't accomplish things because I really didn't believe deep down in my heart that I was capable of doing it. So at that moment, I went through a tough time. Me and my family went through a really, really hard time. We lost everything, got involved with a business partner that stole everything from us. The FBI was after him, using me. It was just a mess, right? And I asked myself, I'm just a basketball player. How did I get to this point in life? Like, how did I even get to this point? And I realized, like, you were actually aiming low and you didn't realize. You didn't think that you were capable of achieving more, so you settled for less. And this is why you're in the predicament that you're in. And I just really went on this hunt of becoming enthralled and learning how to control my thoughts, because my thoughts were the seed of my reality. And this is real kind of what my mission, my purpose is now, is to help show everyone the power that they have by using their mind.
And I love that. I was thinking in preparation for, our talk today, I was thinking about how coaches always used to talk to us about the power of mental reps. Like when you're not on the field, take your mental reps, watch the person who's in for you, watch what they're doing. Like just go through your responsibilities, take the rep mentally. And it wasn't until, like you said, the last few years where I really started to understand how powerful the mind is. So I'm curious, it sounds like you had sort of this emotional impact where, the proverbial, hit the fan, and you decided to take full responsibility. So I'm curious, was that an easy thing to do? Like what was the process like for you?
Yeah, no, it definitely wasn't easy. It was actually really painful, right? Being able to look yourself in the mirror and say, like, dude, you didn't do it. You didn't get it done. You're not doing it. That's really hard. It's accountability. It's one thing though that my parents, they didn't play sports, but they taught me at an early age accountability and discipline. So, I used to go sit out in the woods. I would hire a babysitter during the pandemic, the quarantine, and I'd go sit out in the woods by myself. And I'd just sit out there with a notebook, and I would just start going inward and reflecting, like, why am I worried about what people think about me? Why, like, all of these fears and worries and stresses, I would just keep writing them down and then keep asking myself, why? Okay, why? Okay, now why? And I would get to the root of it, and I would feel this weight lifted off of me. And I started to realize, like, oh my gosh, this situation that happened to you and your family wasn't good and it wasn't bad. It just was. You, though, Derick, are the one who's assigning the emotional value to it based on your perspective. You're looking at the glass as being half empty. You actually could look at it as being half full. Will you make that choice? And it was like, I woke up one morning and it just clicked. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to figure out a way to be grateful and be thankful no matter how much I have, what my life looks like. And that was really when there was a shift. And I see now why it's so important to be grateful and express gratitude, because this is what allows you to move through life with a smile on your face and enjoy the experience that we call life.
And I love the simplicity of what you're sharing, right? Like you're really talking about using one of those mental muscles, right? Your perception muscle. And what I often remind people is that your mental muscles are like any muscle. It gets stronger and more developed through more consistent and focused repetition. One thing I love that you talked about was you started tapping into the power of questions. So I'm curious, what has that done for you in your life? What has that allowed you as you've been beginning to go deeper within by prompting yourself with asking questions?
You think if you ask a question, you can never ask a question without awareness. So the more questions that I ask, that's actually gauging the level of my awareness. So for me to continue to ask why, to get to the root of it, my consciousness, my level is expanding like this each time. And then I'd go to a new topic and then it continue to expand. So I learned that through asking these questions, because we're always taught, like, don't ask questions. That's stupid. No, like, I need to ask questions to better understand. And the better understanding I have, the more awareness that I have. And, I now today, I don't have to ask why. I can kind of identify if I'm in a low vibrational state or something's kind of got me down. I can identify it within minutes because I developed that muscle of asking, like, why? Okay, why do you feel, what's bothering you? What is it really? Like, these are internal conversations I have with myself.
And I love that power of why, right? Asking questions. What it sort of brought up for me as you talked about that was one of my superpowers is I've always been really curious, right? I've always liked asking questions, figuring out what makes people tick, right? Figuring out there. And I remember when I was about 6 or 7, I was asking one of my aunts who, was not doing anything, if she was not being malicious. And she just said to me, why do you ask so many questions? Mm. And I remember being well into my 30s and thinking that, feeling, I don't know if the word is, but sort of not ashamed, but, ashamed I was curious. But it wasn't until I started celebrating that curiosity that, hey, I like to learn, I like to grow, I like to innovate and adapt. That's where I feel like I took the power back. Has that been similar? Like, have you always been someone that's been curious?
I've always been curious. I've always questioned. I've always wondered. I'm not the type, like I tell people all the time, if people tell me the sky is blue, I want to know why it's blue. How did it get to be blue? I've just always had this inquisitive nature. And what I'm learning now through working with people, you either have a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. It's one or the other. And to break it down easily, like, a fixed mindset isn't going to ask any questions. It's okay with things just the way they are. But a growth mindset, your top is open. Right? I want to know more. Why? Why is this the way it is? and you're just sponge continuously absorbing information and growing and expanding in your awareness. So to me, it's vital. We're here to grow. We're here to evolve. This is the whole point of the existence as a human being, to evolve in consciousness. And to me, if you're not asking questions, you're not exercising this tool that you have in contemplation. Like, we're the only creature that can contemplate. And this is why we are the creator's greatest creation, is because we can ask questions to continue to dive deeper.
Simple, right? Like, just like literally a question. I had a mentor that she talks about the quality of your questions determine the quality of your life. And that's always kind of stuck with me. I'm like, yeah, it's true.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm curious, you've played at a high level. You have played with lots of high performers, lots of great athletes. You now are coaching high level athletes and working with them. I'm curious, does someone have, you're talking about the growth mindset, the fixed mindset. If someone has a fixed mindset, like let's say up to this point, can they actually develop a growth mindset? Like, is it possible to create a shift, in your opinion, in your experience?
I believe so. You think about like growth mindset, fixed mindset, it's really just your philosophy on how you view a situation. It's a belief system that you have adopted, and belief systems are malleable. They're not rigid. You can, no child comes into this world with a belief system. So if you have a fixed mindset, that was probably developed because of your environment, whether it's your parents, your culture, whatever, that condition you to view that this is the way we operate in life. But you have the potential. Like I said, we're creatures that have the ability to contemplate and reflect. You have all of the tools to have a growth mindset, to continue to evolve. So if I used to think like, oh, well, you either have it or you don't, but through digging deeper and learning, like, oh no, you can actually, so long as you're able to break down this belief system that you've adopted and rebuild a belief system that's conducive to the life that you want to live, you can absolutely adopt a growth mindset.
So I'm curious, from the people that you've played with, that you're currently coaching, working with, the most successful people, whether we're talking on the basketball court, whether we're talking on the football field, more importantly, the game of life, where do they fall? Are they of a fixed mindset, or are they of the growth mindset?
All of the athletes, the high level athletes that I work with, all of them have growth mindsets. Mm-hmm. All of them. And I will say this, say I've been working with somebody in the NBA, they have a growth mindset compared to the general public, but within the NBA, it starts over, right? So now within the NBA, you actually have a fixed mindset within a growth mindset category, I guess you could say. So what I'm learning is that there's actually there's levels. So comparatively speaking to everybody else, no, I actually have a growth mindset. I'm willing to do what it takes. This is how I got to the NBA. But if you're struggling to get from the bench to the, into the rotation, it's because you've fallen victim to having this fixed mindset of like, oh, well, I'm here. I made it. So there's something that we don't realize. It's like you have elite, you have great, and you have good. But then even when you get to the elite level, it starts over. You have good, great, and elite within the elite. Mm-hmm. So it's just something that I didn't realize until I kind of started diving into and started working with clients. But like I said, we all have the capability to hit that next level. It's just, it's the choice. It's the choice, really, what it comes down to.
And it's interesting, like, as you share, one of the things that a client once had asked me, like, what's your truth? And I'm thinking, this is one of the best questions. Like, I'm always asking people questions. Like, I don't always really get a ton of questions that make me stop and think all the time.
Sure.
Right. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, that's a great question. And the fundamental truth I choose to live by is that everyone has greatness inside of them.
Sure.
And why I share that with you is what really came up for me as you were telling that story is that we just simply need to understand where we are and that what our next level of greatness is. And it has nothing to do with that the other person is. But whenever you choose to stay where you are settling, you are accepting the status quo. Mm-hmm. So my question to you is, from your opinion, how do you know, like, if you're accepting the status quo versus really getting after it? Like, how do you balance that idea between, I want more, but being grateful for where you're at?
The key to life, my father used to always tell me this, is it's balance, right? It's the yin and the yang, harmony, right? Having that balance. But what I've found is in my own personal life, being uncomfortable. When I'm uncomfortable, I'm going through a stage of growth, right? When I'm comfortable, this isn't where I want to be. This actually isn't, I'm not making any growth. So, like I told you about the situation with me and my family, really uncomfortable. Now that I've made it out of it, I can see that I made the most growth from that. That was absolutely needed for me to continue to evolve and to expand. The analogy I use is like a weight room. Like, life is like a weight room. If you're trying to get your pecs stronger and your biceps and triceps stronger, you can't lift weight that you can already lift. There has to be resistance. And through that resistance comes development. So the way for me to help my clients, to help them identify whether or not they're still growing, is how uncomfortable are you right now? How uncomfortable, if I feel like, oh my gosh, I don't know how I'm gonna make it through this. Good. You're in the land of development. This is where you will make the most growth. When I used to really train athletes with basketball and skill development, if we worked out for an hour, it was really 45 minutes just to get to the last 15 minutes. The last 15 minutes when they were exhausted was when they were actually making growth, but it just took 45 minutes to get there. This is the same way with life. We go through our ups and downs, but the downs are needed for you to get to the up. So relish in tribulation, relish in the hardship, because this is where you are making your growth.
And I love how you're talking about the ebbs and flows of life. And, it's understanding that there are ebbs and flows. It's the law of rhythm, right? Tide comes in, tide goes out, right? Sun rises, sun sets. But what really came up for me as you were talking, I just thought about, it's really when you can sort of stay in control and you can be even keel and just observe things for what they are and just be objective with whether they're good or bad, that allows you to actually feel more energized and enthusiastic, because you're not just up and down based on your results.
That's it. And what we don't realize is it's a universal law. Like, it's free will. You have a choice. I didn't know this. I remember I went to my mom a couple of months ago. I'm like, why are we not teaching kids this? A child should know this situation that's happening. The squirrel or the deer would not look at it and say it's good or bad. That is the ability that we have through perception, a higher faculty of our mind, to say, oh, this is not good. That is actually a choice that you're making by saying that it's not good. I'm like, oh my, when I realized this, when it clicked, I was like, why would I ever not make the choice to view life as working for me? The problem is that we get conditioned to have a victim consciousness. So we think like, oh my gosh, this is the worst. I can't believe this is happening. No, you can actually, I just lost my arm. Instead, at least I still have my life. That's a choice that we all have. And I don't know how much longer I'm here, but as long as I'm here, I got to shout this from the rooftops. Like, you have a choice of how life feels. No matter what happens, your perspective, which is a choice, will determine how it feels.
And I love, like, what I really heard from you. It's empowering. It's taking your power back.
Yes.
No one can make you think or feel a certain way. And right. And I love how you talked about free will, because like you, my understanding, or at least the conditioning I grew up with, was that free will was action based. No. And Neville Goddard talks about in The Power of Awareness that free will is the ability to choose your thought in the moment. And as soon as as soon as I understood that, I was like, oh my gosh, like this, like I felt like, I don't even know, like He-Man, a Transformer, like literally a superhero, because I'm like, I'm always in control. Like, this is amazing.
It's a game changer. It really is. And like now, like people ask me, well, how's your day going? My days, it just is. It just is. Because if I say it's good, now I'm comparing it to something else. If I say it's bad, it just is. And I'm taking it how it is, no matter what happens. No matter what happens. I could have death in the family, sickness, it does not matter, because I have a choice on how I perceive it. And ultimately, I tell people this thing that we call life, you measure it based on feelings. This is how you measure it. Oh, I love going on vacation. Well, you love it because of how it made you feel.
Mhm.
What we don't realize is that all feelings are governed by thoughts. And a thought is a choice that you make. But so many distractions, and I don't want to go off on a tangent, but we don't realize
Yeah.
that we're making so many, a lot of our thoughts are unconscious, which is why I feel like I'm a victim, because I feel like this. Well, you got to get your power back, man.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I just love that sort of like the responsibility, the ownership, right? Taking full control. I love that. So I'm curious, and then I'm really curious on your thoughts on this. And this one always seems to, sometimes people ruffles people the wrong way. What I often share with people is positive thinking is a start, but it's only going to get, like, anyone can be positive when things are going well, right? When the scoreboard is in your favor, or whenever you perceive that life's going well.
Right.
Why, or do you think positive thinking is enough? Maybe I'll just sort of open-ended question you.
I would, it's a start, I think it's a start, but positive thinking can also lead, as with everything, those two sides of a coin, right? It's the law of polarity. You have to understand that it's this, if I just have positive thinking, everything is good. Now you can be missing out on lessons that are supposed to be learned, because sometimes you got to dip down in the ditch. You got to go through the vibrational meat grinder so you can learn. But if it's like, oh, well, everything is good, I'm just, and you're making this choice to view everything as rosy, you may be missing the valuable lesson that it is for you to be learning. And this is why this is happening to you, for you to learn. So I say positive thinking is absolutely a start. It's obviously vital. But then the next level of that is having the awareness of, okay, why is this happening? What am I supposed to learn from this situation? Whether it's good or bad, what am I supposed to learn from this? You extract the lesson, throw it in your learning bag, and you continue to move on through life.
As you share that, what came up for me is that Nelson Mandela quote: I never lose, I either win or I learn.
That's it.
And I just think back on a personal note, a couple of days ago, where, yeah, I wasn't feeling as well, like my vibration, my frequency, whatever you want to call it, was, it just wasn't as high as it normally is. It just is, like you said. And I was a little short with my daughter.
Mm.
And interestingly enough, she had a broken night's sleep, right? Like I was just a little more short with her. And she got up in the morning, and my wife said that. And I said, you know what? That's on me. I'm going to take responsibility for that, because her broken night's sleep was because when our last engagement before she went to bed I wasn't in my highest vibration. I wasn't feeling good. Was no fault of her own. But like you said, I took it as an opportunity to learn, hey, do better, right? When you were putting your kids to bed, right? Just, serve them, right? Be there for them, right? And so it's just, like you said, a powerful lesson, and not good or bad. It is.
And that's the growth mindset right there, that you can learn from anyone, no matter their age, their intelligence level. Like, you are literally looking for every situation to teach you something. And when you have this mindset, it's almost like, oh my goodness, everything is for me. Everything is for me. Even if I got robbed or my house is on fire, I have learned what not to do if this situation never presented itself. So even through that, I became better. My awareness expanded. And when you have this mentality, when you have this perspective, I can't lose. I've never lost in life. I have never, ever, and I never will lose. I never will lose. Never. It empowers you. It empowers you. And yeah, man, I love that.
So I'm curious, you're obviously of a growth mindset. I'm curious, like, high level athletes, coaches, people that played sport at a high level, like, they're ambitious, they're driven, they're open-minded, they're coachable. Like, that's why they are high performers, right? It's just cause and effect. I'm curious, why do you believe that these skills that we're talking about, right? Like learning to be intentional with your thoughts, to choose your thoughts wisely. Why is that a game changer in terms of being able to take yourself to your next level, not only in sport, but in the game of life?
I think we got to understand the order, right? So you have a thought, right? A conscious thought, which then seeps down subconsciously. We would just say that's your emotional seat. I feel it. So if I think I'm the greatest, I will then feel like I'm the greatest, right? Because like you said, it's one thing to have the intellectual thought of being great, but I feel like I'm not very good. I feel like I'm the greatest. But now because I have that emotion, that feeling, that vibration, my behavior will always match that. So now I'm working out, I'm changing my diet, I'm doing things that most people won't do. And then from my behavior comes the action or comes the result, which is what we call life. And then I'm actually getting results. I'm the leading scorer in the country. I'm doing all of these things. That spurs another thought. And we don't realize it goes thought, feeling, behavior, thought, and it starts back over. So I see a lot of times with clients when I first get them, it's like, oh, I think my life sucks. Well, now I feel like my life sucks. Well, then I behave like my life sucks. And now I'm looking at the result and I think, wow, my life does suck. And then it just starts over. So I think with these athletes, the first thing, that's why, Einstein said, the imagination is the seed of your reality, right? It's the thought that comes first. I have to govern that thought because the end result is determined by that first thought. And that comes from awareness. That comes from really being mindful. And I think a lot of these athletes, whether they're aware, like consciously do it or not, they have been so programmed to think positive about themselves. And this is what they end up getting in their results.
Brother, I love what you're sharing again. The simplicity. I can really tell why you're such a great coach and speaker, because you're bringing things down that like, you're speaking like a 10-year-old could understand, which again speaks volumes about you as a communicator. A couple of things jumped out as you were talking about it. I think many people are unaware how we've been programmed to live outside it, right? And I often relate this to probably my background in education of report card syndrome, that I've seen how crushing it can be for some young people when they get a report card after 6 weeks, and it's like they feel like it's the worst news ever, and they're determining their self-worth or what they're capable of based on really an arbitrary number out of 100. Or as an athlete, right, we are winning is what the number says on a scoreboard, right? Or when we get up to life, it's like the number of zeros that our company pays us. And it's just, I think people fail to recognize how, like you said, it's a programming, it's a conditioning, and it just is. It's not good or bad. It just is. But when you become aware, you can change that programming.
Absolutely. And this is something that I had to do through 2020. When I used to go out and sit in the woods. It's like, I realized I was like, oh my gosh, like you only view it this way because you have been taught to think and view it this way. Well, who taught your parents? Well, their parents. Well, who taught their parents? Well, and then it went on. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was just a belief that they had. And that belief that has been passed down generationally, 3, 4, 5 generations back, it's not conducive to life today in 2021. You must now break that down and then rebuild it in a way that works for you, because how I am is not how my great-great-grandfather was. But yet his values and the way he views life got passed down. I can speak specifically for young Black men in America. We don't realize our thinking and our behavior is generations back. Like we've been conditioned to think that we're the victim, that, oh, you have to do this, this, and this to be viewed. And I'm like, no, you don't. It starts individually with your thought and how you believe yourself and how you believe in yourself. When you start to view yourself at this level and you really, truly feel it, you believe it. That's why the greatest teachers ever, Jesus said, you can move that mountain over there. There's nothing that you can't do so long as you can see yourself in a light that you may not be in right now. That's where faith comes in.
And it's interesting that you were talking about faith, and what I would say is, faith is sometimes, again, it gets, when people hear the word faith, they think it always has to mean, religious connotation, right? But it's that idea of you have to believe in the invisible to achieve what the masses call impossible, right? And it just feels better when you start to think in possibilities. So I'm curious, from your example, is that something that really takes time to help people start to think in possibilities?
it takes time. I can speak for myself that it's a constant everyday battle when you have been so ingrained to live life by seeing and then believing. But the nature of reality is actually you must believe it and then you will see it. And I tell clients all the time, like, I know it doesn't look like it's happening, but there's a lot of things within this spectrum that you cannot visually see. You cannot sense with your five senses. You must trust that this is actually how life works and go by faith. I believe I'm going to be one of the most well-known coaches in the world. I believe that right now at this moment, and I'm in my bedroom. It doesn't look like it to the eye, but I also understand my reality is just a reflection of what I'm feeling on the inside. And eventually life will catch up. I did this with my own basketball career. I wrote down when I was in fourth grade, I want to play professional basketball. I had no reason to play professional basketball. Zero. Like I told you, I was 16 years old and didn't know how to play college. How do you get to college? What do you do? But it's funny how life works. It will end up somehow, this is what we call miracles. If you have that faith, meaning you just believe in something before you see it, life will mirror it. It will absolutely mirror or reflect what the actual image is, and that's your inner state, your inner mind.
I love, again, this whole where we're going here. I love what we're, sort of challenging those paradigms that, I have to see it before I believe it. No. You believe it, then you see it. And what I love that you talked about there was you wrote that goal down when you were in grade 4, right? And what came up for me as you were sharing that was I thought about that book in Psycho-Cybernetics, that we have this, whatever you want to call it, this Maxwell Maltz talked about this built-in success mechanism, right? Or, like I was sharing, everyone has greatness inside of you. You just have to get clarity on what you want. And you got really clear. I want to play pro basketball. The how, not up to you, right? And so my question is, do you think that that's part of the conditioning, that the how is the thing that trips people up? And like, do you think there's an imbalance with what people understand, the what versus how?
Yeah. So if I have a goal, if I have an intention, the egoic part of my mind, which operates in the past and in the future, it doesn't operate in the present. It wants to know how, it wants to know where, it wants to know all of the details that can only be answered when you're at that moment. And this is what stops people, because it's like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. Well, how are you going to do that? And then they try to think of how, and it stops them. I think Steve Jobs said, you'll figure out how after you do it. You don't even have to worry about how. This was something that stopped me early on. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't have to worry about how. I develop a plan, right? I have an intention. I then have to believe that I can do it. And then I develop a plan and I take action, and then I trust. I surrender. And that is me exercising. This is me making a contract by exercising faith. I'm exercising, I believe that this is going to happen, and there's infinite possibilities as to how I'm going to get there. So I don't even have to worry about how. Matter of fact, I couldn't even guess how if you gave me a million tries. This is the beauty of life, of just allowing it to basically play itself out and continue to hold that belief. Like, I know it looks crazy. I know life sucks. It doesn't look like you're going to achieve what you're trying to achieve, but still just believe deep down inside that you can do it. And eventually, I promise you, it will end up happening.
I love how you brought up that Steve Jobs, right? Where he talks about that quote where he talks about, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. So I love how you talked about that. You won't know how until you achieve it, until it physically manifests, and then you'll, oh, that's how I did it. So I love that. So as you have learned to trust more, to have faith that things are going to work out, like it just is, it's just going to happen, right? It's almost like what really came up for me is developing this bulletproof attitude, like drowning out the noise, drowning out the inner noise. How has that impacted other parts of your life besides just, working with your clients?
It's allowed me to be less stressed. I don't get stressed. I don't get worked up about things, because anytime I get stressed or get worried or, feel anxious about something, it's because I'm expecting a certain result. I'm thinking off into the future. but understanding that it's just my responsibility to be present and live that out right now at this moment. Why would I have to worry about it? It's like I tell people, it's like if you go to, order food from a fast food restaurant, and when you order your food and you're waiting for it, you don't sit here and you're like, oh no, I hope they bring it. I hope they bring. No, you ordered it and you just knew and believed because of all the times previously, they're going to bring me my food. So I just relax, I chill, I give them the money. I'm saying, I'll talk to whoever's in the car. This is the way we need to start living life. You don't have to be stressed. You don't have to be worried. This is an unconscious decision that we're making. And when you trust that everything will always work out, because even if it doesn't work out, I'm learning a lesson. I'm learning what not to do. So I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve, but through not achieving it, I just learned, you know what? I know not to do that again. Let's try it again. And this is how you continue to grow and evolve.
I love that. And as you were sharing that, like I'm learning, you can just feel that your energy, your enthusiasm, your passion, that, like, I don't care what the scoreboard says in life. Like, it's just, I'm going to get there, and I feel like that's what trips people up. Yes, we all, I firmly believe everyone wants more. Everyone wants better, right? They may not believe it, but I truly believe that everyone wants something better. So I'm curious from you. I'm a firm believer that successful, highly effective people, any area of life, whether it's health, parenting, sports, have this delicate balance, right? Harmonize between being process driven, but goal oriented. So I'm curious, from your perspective, how do you harmonize that? Because obviously talking to you, you're very ambitious, you're driven, you want to make things happen. Is there something that really brings you back to the present moment, to be right here, right now?
I think it goes back to being just grateful and thankful, right? Really just looking at this very moment. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are at this moment in life where your feet are. You have everything that you need. You have everything that you need. Yeah, but I don't have enough money to pay my bills. At this moment, you have it. You have everything. You're thinking off into the future and you don't even realize you're worrying about what happens if you don't pay your bills. But at this moment, you not paying your bills, you're still walking, you're still living. You still have an opportunity to influence and impact your life tomorrow at this present moment. So finding the balance of just being grateful, being present in the moment. A lot of times what I'll do, I meditate quite a bit, but I'll just take time to like listen and just listen to the crickets or maybe hear the wind blowing. And if I do this 2 or 3 times within an hour, this is constantly bringing me back to the present moment, right? So I have goals, I have dreams, I have aspirations, but I can't climb Mount Everest staring at the top of it while I'm taking each step. I'll slip and fall on the ice. I have to, at some point, be aware of where I'm going. That's my direction. And now just focus on this, the present moment. And this is how I try to live my life, of knowing where I want to go. Got it? Now focus on this every single day, every single step. And eventually those steps will add up and you'll be at the top of the mountain.
I love that analogy of the climbing the mountain, because I just thought about it. Yeah, if you stare up and yeah, you do want to get to the top, acknowledge that's great. But you have to see, where's that hand placement? Where's the foot placement, right? Where's my body weight and all that, in order to give yourself even the opportunity to get to the top of the mountain.
The micro is what composes the macro. Like I have to focus on the micro and then I'll get the macro. But we've been conditioned, especially in social media, we always see the top of everybody's mountain and we never get to see those steps that they were taking. So we assume, oh, well, that was easy. All they did was, no, you didn't get to see it. You didn't see what LeBron James, the work that he has put in over 18 years, in the 10 years before that, for him to be at the level that he's at now. This is where, what do you call it, the journey, right? This is why the treasure is actually within the journey, because the destination, when you're trying to get there, there'll be a new destination after that. And you'll see that the destination was really just a part of the journey. So fall in love with the journey, fall in love with the grind, because this is where the lessons will be learned. This is where your evolution is. This is where the treasure is.
Again, brother, I love that you're sharing it. And for anyone that's thinking maybe this seems really like out there, this seems really woo-woo, there's actually Andrew Huberman. I was listening to a podcast who studies the brain, and he actually talks about more dopamine is actually released in the journey. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's not true. How many times, for anyone watching or listening, have you set a goal, you get there and go, what's next?
Yeah, that's it. What?
Right? Yeah. And I just know for me, that was something like that. My programming, I used to do that. And I just realized that when I can fall in love, like you said, with right here, right now, that's the beauty of life. That's where the love, the joy, the peace of life happens. And then when I get to the goal, and I'll get there, that's where you can really start to celebrate those wins.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm curious your thoughts on this one, brother. I've been really, let's just say I've become more aware. And one of the things that one of my coaches and mentors talks about is how crushing the behavior of judgment can be. And again, intellectually, I understood that. But what really sort of triggered that idea was when you talked about, we look at other people on social media and go, oh, they have it completely figured out. But what I've learned is judgment can show up in some different forms. From my awareness, it can show up as when we're comparing our results to other people.
Sure. When
we find ourselves maybe criticizing someone for their thoughts or actions, or can just be complaining about the way things, there. I'm curious from your perspective, from your experiences, how does judgment impact our ability to live a great life?
I think it paralyzes us for the most part, right? I'm afraid to move into that uncomfortable zone because I'm afraid that I might fail. And if I fail, what are they going to think about me? So now I won't even take the risk. I'll just stay here. Instead of me opening that company or starting that business that I know that this is my passion and what I would love to do, I'm too worried about failing at what mom and dad would say. So I'll just continue to work a job that I don't love for the next 30 plus years. So one thing that I always encourage people, all my clients, we're the only creature that doesn't do what it loves to do. We've actually been programmed to focus on things that we don't really want to focus on. No other creature does this. When you can unplug and say, you know what? I'm just going to do what makes me happy. I'm going to do what brings me joy. Yeah, but that doesn't pay me anything. That's a conditioning. We have been taught to think that what you love to do is supposed to make you a living. Your job is to enjoy this experience and keep the highest vibration that you can, because you have the ability to feel emotions, and then go after those things that raise your level of vibration. So like, for instance, 2 weeks ago, I'm like, you know what? I had a talk with my wife, and I could just feel that like business was just kind of pulling me down gradually. And I got to a point where I was like going like this, and then I was being short with the kids. And I'm like, you know what? And she had it, that's why I love my wife. She holds me accountable. She says, hey, maybe you need to just shut everything off. So I did. And I went and made cookies like with my daughter in the kitchen. I felt like a kid. I was lost in the moment and the joy, and just throwing flour on her face and just making a mess and doing all the things that adults aren't supposed to do. But I was just enjoying and following my passion for that moment. And it created a lifetime, like a memory that will be remembered for our lifetime. So I tell people, like, do what you love to do. I had a client, she loved to fold laundry. As crazy as that sounds, she loved folding laundry, and she had just lost her job. She's like, well, I don't know what I want to do. I said, what do you love to do? She's like, I love folding laundry. And she was afraid to tell me that because if she was scared that I was going to judge her. I said, okay, well, let's figure out a way how you can maybe make some money folding laundry. She didn't ever start a company folding laundry, but she ended up starting a t-shirt company that she ended up getting bought out like 7 months later. Like, it ended up blowing up so fast. And it was like, oh my gosh, but it was all because she went after what she loved to do. She embraced her passion, which will inevitably lead to your purpose in life.
I love that you're talking about, do what you love, really igniting that passion. And what came up for me as you shared that, and I had this conversation with my wife, is I firmly believe that we are told to do what you love, but we're conditioned to play it safe and comfortable. So again, that polarity there, and that's where I feel like it's so important, like having these conversations, just maybe this is the spark that gets people to think and dream bigger and just realize that you don't have to accept other people's logic. You don't have to accept other people's reality. You get to define it. You get to make it.
Yeah, that's it. Giving people their power back is ultimately it, man.
So I'm curious, I love that you're sharing that, you just went back to basics, you went back to fundamentals, right? I guess speaking to the athlete heart, you just started baking some cookies, hanging out, creating a memory. What was the biggest, takeaway from you there that you find you're still, it's obviously something new, but what has that lesson taught you?
That life still went on. It still continued to keep moving. A lot of times, especially as adults, we're the rat race of life. We're taught like, you got to go, you got to go, you got to get it, you got to make as much money as you can, you got to do this, you got to get. And we get so conditioned to think that if I don't do that, my life is like, it's over, it's done. And I was able to put everything to the side and say, you know what, I'm not going to touch my phone, I'm not going to answer emails, I'm not going to do anything for the next 72 hours. And when I came out of those 72 hours, I was like, wow, my company's still here. My family, my health is like, life is still going on. So what I learned probably the most, JT, was just enjoy where you are at this moment, because this is all your responsibility is anyway. It was to just enjoy it. That's it. Just enjoy it. You don't have to do any of that stuff that you think that you have to do. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy life.
I can definitely relate. And what I would encourage, all of our listeners, all the people watching here, is just like, that's the athlete mindset. Is you're already ambitious, you're driven, you're open-minded, you're coachable, like you'll get up and get after it. But what this does, and when you start to learn to tap into the spirit, the mind, and the body, you learn how to harness that to take more conscious and make more intentional decisions. And like you said, that's where the joy of life is. And I'll just share with you, I love that you shared that one about the family. One of the greatest joys of my life, and this is something I just started doing, was I drop my kids off at school every day. And this is something, being a former educator, I didn't do it, right? Like, because I had to be in school ready to go. And I find just that simple action, which was not an easy action to take, because like you, I like to get up and get after it. But I find even just there, being able to drive them to school, have 7 to 10 minutes with them, and being able to my son loves, they each play a song and that they like to dance to. So it's like a karaoke, it's like a dance party in there. But as soon as we do that, the last thing I tell them is, remind them, like, what are you going to commit to today? And they tell me, I'm going to give my best effort and attitude. And then as they're leaving, I tell them I love them and I'm proud of them. And I feel like my parents worked a lot. I wasn't always blessed to have that growing up. But I think just being able to gift that for my kids, to me, there's no price tag on that.
You can't measure it. You can't measure what you're doing for your children. And this is, I think there's a paradigm shift. I think a lot of people are starting to wake up and see like that old way of, let me work, not be present in my children's life, but yet pass down an inheritance. That's the old model. We need to be present in our children's lives, emotionally, mentally. I need my children to know, like, daddy's here. Daddy's here. Like, whenever you need, no matter what's going on, you can always come to me. And, being an entrepreneur sometimes, working from home, it can get sticky, but I always make sure to keep a pulse. And my wife does a great job of helping with this. Okay, they need daddy time. Like my son last week, I took him to a basketball court. He thought we were going to go do basketball. We just sat in the grass and talked for an hour. We didn't touch a ball. And he said to me, he goes, man, do you think we can do this every Friday? And I came home and told my wife what resonated was he valued and saw this intentionality that I had. And even though children are young, they can feel when you're being intentional. So the distractions of work and phones and everything, sometimes it steers us away as parents from what the ultimate goal is to be present in our children's lives.
I just think as you're sharing it there, just that moment, like what else is there? Like that literally is the best gift that you could give your son. Like just feeling seen, heard, and appreciated, right? And just having dad's full attention, right? Is just, those are what they remember.
Yeah. This is, and unfortunately, not unfortunately, but because it's not measured, it's not really valued by our society. But those will be the things that our children, when they're adults, they will remember and they will fall back on. So, yeah.
So, brother, I want to be respectful of your time and your energy. So I have one last question for you.
Sure.
Challenges, setbacks, obstacles are part of the game of life. It's not that we want to expect them, but we just understand that they will pop up from time to time. What is a piece of advice that you could offer someone that maybe is going through a difficult time right now? Just an intentional action they could take today that can help them get back on their feet to create a positive play and just get back on their journey to greatness.
Shift your perspective. Don't view this situation that you're going through as negative. Don't view it as positive. Look at it for just, here's the situation. I'm taking all the emotional value out of it. And the next question you ask, what is this situation teaching me? What am I to learn from this? What am I supposed to learn? And now when you've shifted that back onto you, whatever answer you get, it will be to benefit you. So now you've just alchemized the situation. You have literally become a mental alchemist. I'm taking a negative and turning it into a positive. And then just tell yourself that this too shall pass. It'll pass. Because if you look back on the rest of your life, you've had incidences that you wondered, how am I going to make it through this? But you're standing here today. You made it. This is no different. And the harder it is, the more hurt and pain that you feel. It's just it's the law of rhythm. However far the pendulum swings this way, it has to swing back equally as far to the other side. You will have that much more of a blessing once you get through it and extract a lesson from it. So I always tell people, I will never tell or give advice that I haven't taken myself. And this is something that I had to do with what I went through, which is tell myself, you know what? It's going to get better. And it'll get better because I believe it will get better. So, yeah.
I think that's great words of wisdom, brother. I love it. Find the blessings in your life.
They're there. They are there.
So how can we help? How can we support what you're growing? What's the best way people can connect with you and follow you?
Yeah, so you can go to my website. You see it's dgmindset.com. I always tell people my goal is to help as many people as I can. When I stated earlier, I want to be the most well-known life coach or mindset performance coach in the world. It isn't because of the notoriety, it's because of the reach of how many people I'd be able to help. So I always tell people, go to my website. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, @DG Mindset, and reach out to me. I love conversations. I am here to help people remember and see the true power that they had lying dormant inside of them the whole time. This is why I'm here. So I encourage anybody to reach out to me. Like I said, I do one-on-one coaching. I do group coaching. I do public speaking. So reach out to me. I would love to interact with you.
And I think that's, spoken like the true servant-based leader that you are, right? Like you're so passionate, you're so energetic and enthusiastic about wanting to help people, having conversations and just really serving their hearts and really helping them get some clarity there, brother. Yeah, it's amazing. So I encourage anyone that if this resonated with you, reach out to Derick. So, brother, I want to take a moment. I want to take a moment to acknowledge you for the man you are, the great husband you are, the great dad, the great teacher, coach, the great servant leader you are, but most importantly, the amazing human being that you are. I know in the time that we've known each other, brother, that you are one person in my life that always gets me to stop and think, to be aware of what I'm thinking about and to act in an intentional way. So I just want to thank you for always providing me with that reminder. And I'm really enthused to keep the conversation going and just, being a part of each other's lives. So thank you, brother.
The pleasure is mine, JT. And thank you for those kind words. It truly means the world. And what you're doing, you're changing lives, young people's lives, like you're sharing your light. So I champion you to keep going, keep doing. I'm gonna be behind you like this saying, yeah, JT, go. So I can't thank you enough for what you're doing and your friendship. So thank you.
Thanks, brother. So here's my challenge to you, whether you're watching, whether you're listening. Derick dropped so many valuable nuggets of wisdom. But as I often remind you in the huddle, knowledge is potential power. It's the consistent and focused application of that knowledge that actually creates the great results. Law of cause and effect, baby. So take one of these valuable nuggets of wisdom and go apply it to your life today so you can go reach your next level of greatness. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you next time in the huddle.